Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to today's event. I'm Jason Gumpert from MSDynamicsWorld.com, and I'm pleased to welcome you all to today's Dynamics GP Solution Showcase. It is the next in a series of these showcase-style events we've been running, and they've really been a lot of fun and an interesting experience getting to get introduced to so many different solutions in just an hour. And today is no different. We have 4 great solutions, 4 great speakers representing them, and we'll be getting to them in just a moment. I want to first just add a couple of quick housekeeping notes to start things off. So we do welcome your questions today. You can enter them really at any time throughout the event. We are saving time at the end for having our presenters take those questions and answer them for you. So just look for the Q&A block to the right of the main presentation area, and use that at any point. Each of our presenters today, and let me actually bring them up here on the next slide. Each of them is going to have 12 minutes, so they're going to have to move fast. But I know they all have a lot of material to cover. And we're going to move pretty quickly between them, and like I said, save questions for the end. So I'm now going to hand things off to our first presenter, Donna Pauletti from Corporate Renaissance Group, or CRGroup. And Donna, I'm going to make you the presenter now.
Perfect. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here. Okay.
There we see that.
All right, there we go. I'm going to just go ahead and go into full mode here. And go on to there, click, and I'll just click this display and swap the view. So we can see my screen here today. So I'm going to be talking about budgeting. In particular, I'm going to be talking about RapidStart. As Jason said, my name is Donna Pauletti, and I am the RapidStart team lead here at Corporate Renaissance Group. Our company has been around for over 30 years, and I've been with CRG for 18 of those years. So I've seen a lot in terms of costing and budgeting solutions. They've changed over time, and we found this really neat tool that we'd like to show you, and we're introducing it to the North American market. So a little bit about the current state of budgeting processes for small and medium-sized organizations. We all know that there's a lot of tools out there that are available in terms of budgeting solutions, and they have full functionality, but they come with pretty high price tags, so they're not very cost-effective solutions for the smaller to medium-sized type organizations. So we were looking for something that was beyond, an Excel spreadsheet that we could help our clients with, and something that didn't necessarily involve a lot of setup time and services, because we know the smaller to medium-sized organizations certainly have a constraint on the finance resources, we'll say it. So, we looked around, we found that there were very few solutions that actually tied to Dynamics GP and the other Dynamics ERP systems, the Microsoft ERP systems. So we found we eventually found RapidStart, which is a neat tool. And you almost might want to say, okay, well, why do we have to move away from Excel? And I think the challenge is that the smaller to medium-sized organizations, the challenges that they face really aren't any different than the challenges that other organizations face, but it's mainly, you need to think about eliminating the manual and administrative tasks. You need to reduce the budgeting cycles, because what happens oftentimes is that by the time these budgets get completed, they're out of dated, and you need to avoid looking at different versions of the truth in terms of, sending spreadsheets back and forth, and there could be errors, there could be data issues. So you need one version of the truth. You need it to be collaborative to provide that greater visibility and reporting for the small to medium-sized enterprises. And the beauty of having an online system that is driver-based is it really allows you to become a little bit more agile in changing, if you need to make a tweak to your budget and get that deployed out quickly in terms of, how it impacts your financial statements, et cetera. You can do that with a tool like this, RapidStart. So it's quite interesting, and it deploys very quickly with minimal intervention. So we're introducing it to you. It was actually developed by a company called MaxiPlan, and they are based on the other side of the world. They have offices in Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, and the UK. So we have been talking with them for over 3 years, and we are excited now to launch it into the North American market. And when we talk about RapidStart, what we're actually talking about is a simple and affordable tool that allows you to really do budgeting from the bottom up, and it's meant to fit for the small to medium-sized organizations. So when we're talking about the tool itself, it's really comprised of a number of modules that allow you to build your budgets and your forecasts from the bottom up. And then, not only do you get the data in there, of course, the overall output as well is what's, going to be interesting in terms of the synchronized financial statements, the P&Ls, the balance sheets, and other reports that you want to create. So when we talk about the modules that are available in RapidStart, we're talking about revenue planning, we're talking about expense planning, we're talking about payroll, we're talking about CapEx, we're talking about financing, and we're also talking about the ability to add below the line details. So it's not as simple as saying, okay, here are my accounts and here are my cost centers, and I want to budget a dollar amount for each of those accounts by cost center. What you can actually do is you can build the budget by up with below the line details. So if you're budgeting for something like travel and you want to justify the monthly travel expense, through 5 different trips that your folks are taking, you can actually itemize those 5 trips and do it, have a summary from the bottom up. So what does that all mean, and how is RapidStart different? Well, really, it's, all of the pain points that I had identified earlier in terms of, it's out of date, it's too manual, we have to collaborate and put things together. Really, RapidStart tries to address all of those by making it faster, easier, and much more collaborative. From a pricing perspective, it really is quite affordable, especially if you've ever looked at any of the other tools that are out there. The starter license package for the professional version is at $3,150 US for the year, and then we offer a services package to get that, help you set it up and launch it for $3,000 a year. So that's only a one-time fee, and then of course the annual price would be a monthly subscription going forward there, and you have access to administrator guides and documentation and all of those sorts of things. The nice thing with RapidStart is that you do get a lot of functionality with the low price point, so you get a little bit more than you might expect, and it's certainly over and above what you get with Excel. The beauty of it is, it does support multi-entity management, and it means that, each of those entities can have different currencies, so it supports currency exchange, it supports intercompany elimination, you can create your standardized reports and your rolling forecasts and all of those sorts of neat things. So there's a whole lot included in the nice price bundle, and it's really a good stepping point up from Excel for those smaller to medium-sized organizations. Our role as a consultant here would actually be to help the clients set their model up and create those driver-based rules so that we can get you up and running and make sure that all of your financial statements are going to be synchronized and coming out of that. And we can do an integration to Dynamics GP as well. So, that's where we're here to help. We've got a lot of expertise in the GP space. As I said, we've been here for over 30 plus years. And, that's part of the service package that we're offering. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual software itself, just so you get a little idea of what it looks like here. So I'm going to just bump over to Excel. And when I log in, I'm just going to click on the page to make sure that we're refreshed here. What you do, the screen that you see when you log in is just your dashboard screen. This is customizable again. And the nice thing with this screen is that anything that you see on the screen is drillable, so you can start to go down into the details and you can look at more reports. If I wanted to switch to a grid view, I could see that, and now all of a sudden I'm looking, I can export this to Excel if I wanted to, and anything else. If I said, oh, look, I wanted to see my total expenses by my divisions, I could go ahead and drop that down, and it's going to pull it. So you kind of drag and drop and create the reports that you want, and then share those out to your audiences that you so want to choose. So with the various modules that I talked about just a little bit in the earlier presentation, each of those is viewed as a tab on the RapidStart module. So, if we go ahead and we take a look at the revenue tab, there are different options available where you can actually plan your revenues at the account level. That's a general revenue. You can actually plan revenues at the product level or the service level. So these are more driver-based. For products, you can enter in units for particular customers for particular products, and it will calculate the associated sales and, cost of goods sold for services. Think of a typical consulting company that has a consultant doing a particular service. You can charge that consultant out at a rate and estimate the revenue hours for the consultant in a given month, and it will calculate all of those revenues for you. For expenses, it's a little bit simpler. What you can do is actually plan your expenses at the account level. So on this screen here, I'm looking at my sales division, but any division that I have set up in my hierarchy, I can toggle to that and take a look at it, and I can plan my expenses here. And then here's the example of if I did want to add below the dot line detail, and I could just say add that here. And as soon as I put in some information here, it's going to render, and then it's going to save that as the total. So quite nice. There's an input helper as well to get data in and out. If you wanted to do something very quickly, it allows you, to repeat monthly or pull in last year's actuals, etc. And you have the ability to annotate as well if you wanted to, add a note as to why a particular cell was a certain value. You can make those sorts of annotations going forward. So that's your expenses, just basically accounts by your organization structure. For capital asset planning, what you can do, of course, is you can import your existing assets, because we all know, we have those and they generate a certain amount of expenses in accumulated depreciation. But you can actually set up your new asset categories and, define their depreciation method and the particulars in terms of asset life or depreciation rate. And then as you're planning your capital expenses, you would simply just go in and say, okay, I'm looking at buying a new asset, and you would pull in and choose your asset category and choose your description, and then, based on all of those parameters that you enter, when you save that and calculate the impact on your financials, it will automatically hit your depreciation expense and accumulated depreciation for these new planned assets, which is quite nice. For financing, what you can actually do is set up loans or your intercompany eliminations, and you can create them as interest only or principal and interest repayment. And then for our payroll, we've got some payroll drivers that are set up. So it allows you to plan your employees, your individual employees. You can plan for a group of employees, but we've got some basic driver data set up in terms of our FICA rates and our SUTA rates and the maximums, etc. So when you go ahead and you plan your employees, you can actually just, by department, add employees into your different departments and plan for new hires. And again, the impact on the your monthly salary accounts and benefit accounts will be reflected there. And then finally, the last thing is that it has an out-of-the-box, report library already. You can create custom libraries, but you can go ahead and go in and take a look at the different reports. And again, if you switch to your grid view, you can, export those and share them out to the individuals that you need to share to going forward. So that is RapidStart in a nutshell. I'm just going to pop back, I won't pop back to the PowerPoint actually, but it just has my contact information. I know Jason's going to share that with you later on, so you'll be able to reach out if you need more information on that. So Jason, I'll hand it back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Donna. And yeah, just as you were saying, we will have contact information up at the end as well for everyone to jot down. All right, our next presenter is Sira Chowdhury of Mineraltree. And Sira, I'm going to give you control now.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. Hello, everybody. My name is Sira. I am from Mineraltree. I'm getting my screen share up. They all look good, Jason?
We see your screen.
Okay, perfect.
The slides are in edit mode, though.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes the hardest part is just getting it on, but now we're good. I'll go ahead and get started. Thank you. So thank you, everybody. My name is Sira again. I'm from Mineraltree. We do AP automation, and I have been with Mineraltree for around 2.5 years. I'm an account executive. I work with the clients directly from when they pop the lead into our website or when we call them to, getting them signed and up and running. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about our tool. I think a lot of people here, if you're spending your time looking at different products to use with Great Plains, then probably growing, you're probably looking for efficiency, you're probably looking to save as much time as possible. And while you might not think that AP is something that you should focus on, when it comes to just saving time and getting rid of all the paper, all the checks, it's not just about the security. Your time will go down significantly, and it'll make your life easier, and audits will be less, that you can't avoid them, but they'll be much less of a nightmare moving forward with our tool. So I'll go ahead and get started. Just a little bit about us first. We are in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and we've been around since 2010. In addition to being a great tool that actually is sold through a lot of banks across the world, City National Bank, Square One, Royal Bank of Scotland, we are also the trusted AP automation provider for thousands of companies, big companies processing 5,000, 10,000 invoices a month, and small companies processing 50. We are a true mid-market tool that's here to solve this problem that it really just hasn't been addressed in a very long time. It's probably the last piece of your finance process that's still paper manual, which is crazy because it is your checks, it is your company's money. I can't imagine I can't even think about the last time I personally wrote a check in my life. So why do it for your business? And then we also have some, really great investors, Fidelity, First Data, for 406 Ventures, and we process over $3 billion in payments every year. In addition to all these great partnerships, we also are a partner of American Express. We can work with all credit cards, but in particular with American Express. If anybody is listening that has a corporate card, please put a request on our website. We could probably get you set up at little to no cost because of our relationship with them. So keep that in the back of your mind. So with Mineraltree, just kind of going through, we don't live in a paper-based data entry world. It's not a good use of your time to manually key in invoices, route things for approvals. I don't know if you're still using those manila folders or anything like that, but in addition to it just being painful, it also is slow and things can get lost, and going back and forth trying to decide when to make payments. I talked to a lot of companies actually that are not that aren't using Mineraltree. They actually sit and they still have their room meeting where they go through and decide what they want to pay, and they have the check attached to the invoice, which I'm sure gets the job done. I'm sure makes your AP work, but you're missing out on a lot of opportunity to save money and also save a lot of time. So we'll help you with that. And then just when it comes to paying your vendors, this is a big part. This is why we have partnerships with Amex, MasterCard, and Visa, making sure that you don't have to go to 30 places to pay your vendors. Go to your bank portal with ACH, go to your checkbook for checks or print checks and stamp them out and stamp them, and then go to the different biller portals for vendors that you want to pay with credit card, or maybe you're not using credit card at all because it's that much of a pain. We're going to help you not just make the front end of AP easier, but also make it as easy as possible for you to pay your vendors in one place with all your preferred methods, because there are going to be some vendors that you need to pay with checks, no matter how hard we try not to try to get them off, but you're going to still have some of those, and there are going to be some vendors you want to pay with Amex or MasterCard or whatever it might be, and we will help you solve that problem. Processing invoices, it can be really costly, $15 an invoice, believe it or not, when it comes to thinking about all of the sorting, entering, matching, invoice approvals, tasks, errors, all even late payment fees. This is the industry average. It's not a number we came up with, and if it sounds crazy, it is crazy, but it's true. So if you're tired of spending so much money, processing AP, then we can certainly help. When it comes to processing checks manually, it can be around $5 a check when it comes to the postage, the check alone, making sure that the check is approved by the right person. Usually you have a CFO or someone signing a check, and there's a high-level, high-dollar an hour people that don't have time to go through things one by one. So we'll help you with that. And then when it comes to entering data, I don't even need to say this. There's no way anybody in the finance world today thinks that there's value in manually entering data. We will help you with that, and we do it in a different way, because we don't just, when it comes to capturing your bills, do like a basic OCR. We actually have a very detailed 99.5% accuracy read on your invoices, and I'll tell you how in just a second. So now it's green and beautiful. How does Mineraltree work? How do we really save you 60% less time processing AP? You're about to find out. When it comes to paying your vendors, how do we make it easier for you to earn rebates? How do we actually say comfortably that we'll pay you to pay your vendors? You're about to find out. So when it comes to paying your vendors with credit cards, Mineraltree doesn't just give you the ability to pay your vendors with credit cards. We actually show you in our product which vendors accept credit cards and which ones don't. So excuse me, yes, it will be easier, but it's going to be a game changer because the vendors that you thought you had to sign checks with or send wires with, which are like $20, $30 a pop, now you're getting paid to pay them with because you're giving them your card and they are paying interchange and giving you a rebate back for accepting the payment. They like to do this, believe it or not, because they get paid so much faster. So it's a win-win for everybody. Mineraltree gets you as a client, you guys get to pay your vendors faster, you're getting money back, and your vendor gets paid faster, and it's much more secure. Excuse me. So big picture here when it comes to processing AP and why you should do it, just before I get into the specific details on how Mineraltree works, because you probably want me to get to the point already. We, with AP automation, will allow you to scale without additional hiring. There's a lot of growing mid-market companies that are very lean, like Mineraltree is an example. We have a small finance department, and our finance department wants to keep their hands on everything. So with Mineraltree, you get to keep your hands on everything without being bogged down by the data entry, especially if you have different locations, being able to either keep your headcount or reduce it in ways if you have a lot of AP people manually keying things in. You can reallocate those activities to that time to more valuable activities for your staff, and then put best practices into place easily as well. So these are just some of our clients. Lots of places all over lots of businesses all over the places of all different sizes, partnerships as I mentioned before, and some of the banks that sell us as well, and some of our support systems. So obviously Great Plains is on here, and NetSuite, Intact, QuickBooks, and we have a lot of other ones coming soon, including NAV and SL. So if you guys, if there's any NAV or SL users, we are on our way to you very soon, probably by the early 2019. Now with Mineraltree, how do we work? This is the bread and butter of my presentation, most important part here. With Mineraltree, we have an API connector to Great Plains. There's so many different options for AP automation in Great Plains, I'm very aware, but when it comes to us, we are very unique because we have this API. So when it comes to getting set up with Mineraltree and Great Plains, it takes around an hour to kick off that initial sync and do the install, and then we let the sync run overnight for the historical sync to finish. So 1 hour to set up, and then overnight you don't have to do anything. Just let your vendors populate Mineraltree, let all your different accounts, your everything that you might be using to close your bills come over from Great Plains into Mineraltree. And then moving forward, what we're going to do is all you have to do is email or scan your bills into our product using OCR, and then using OCR and human review, because we have a team that actually reviews every single bill that comes in to make sure it's accurately captured. We will create invoices in Mineraltree for you. So the bills, you'll go from this process of getting invoices, manually getting them around, and then entering them in your accounting system, to having Mineraltree connected to Great Plains, receiving your bills in our product, us doing the OCR and human review, you logging in, you seeing the invoices, and you deciding from there what looks good and what doesn't. So if there's any fake bills that come up, you'll be able to catch those very early on. They're never going to hit your accounting system. If there's any invoices that look a little funky, then you're charging you more than usual, or if there's any duplicate invoices, we're going to flag those for you and let you know, like, hey, pay attention to these. And then you'll be able to route them for approval in our product. So you'll just type in the name of whoever you want the bill to go to, or if your company allows for it, we can build automated workflows based on vendor or whatever you want, and the invoices will get to the right people via email, and they'll be able to log into their own special light version of Mineraltree, specifically for invoice approvers, where they can approve the bills and reject the bills and see the history of bills. So they log in, they sign off on the bills, and then you as the accounting manager can see what's been approved and what hasn't, and then when you're ready, you can hit post. So essentially once the bills look good, they're approved, they're signed off, you hit post in Mineraltree, and that creates a batch of bills in Great Plains. So now you're in this place where every single invoice that's coming to your company is coming through the same process, is making sure it's getting approved properly. You can add multiple layers of approval before, and this is all happening before it ever touches your accounting system. You can also make sure the coding is correct before this process happens. Then you post the batch in Great Plains, and then the bills are essentially ready for payment. And that's when kind of phase 2 comes along, where you can see which vendors, like I mentioned, accept whatever payment method, check card, ACH, wire. in our product and actually set them up in the different payment methods, and then use the accounting manager will choose the bills that need to get paid by selecting either in batches or one by one and queuing them up to a payment authorizer or authorizers. So you might have a CEO, you might have a CFO that needs to sign off on payments, no problem at all. You queue them up to the right person, they get a notification, they can see the invoice, they can see how it's coded, they can see the history, they can see every nitty-gritty detail that these CFOs love to see with every payment they're making, and they can hit approve with a click of a button. Once they hit approve, depending on whatever date you guys have that payment scheduled for, we will just send it out for you. With checks, we will print them, mail them out. We don't use any clearing accounts, so no money will come out of your bank account until the vendor cashes the check. It'll show up on your bank statement the same way it always has. It'll get to your vendor in 3 business days. With credit card payments, those go out wicked fast. 15 minutes once you approve the payment, that credit card token will show up in your vendor's email, ready to be processed, and it'll hit your card the same way it always had, and none of that's going to change. Super secure, super easy. We send remittance so they know exactly how to apply the payment. ACH, it's pretty quick, obviously, 1 to 2 business days, but it really just depends on your bank's cutoff time. We will work directly with your bank to get the payments out, send the payments out, mark the bill as paid in Great Plains with our two-way sync. That's where that API comes in handy, and you'll see everything updated in Great Plains. So if you ever have a situation where you have to pay a vendor, like they show up to your door and you have to cut them a check, you can still do that in Great Plains the same way we have. We're not stopping you from that, and you'll be able to trust us to mark the bill as paid in Mineraltree, so there's no duplicate payments because of our two-way sync. That's such a key factor here. So if you're interested in looking at a live demo, seeing how we work, then please let us know. I'm happy to do a demo with you myself and get into the product, send in some of your invoices for capture, and show you exactly how this will apply for your company. Thanks, Jason. Sorry,
all right,
set my
thank
timer.
you,
Thank you. I know. I knew I would go over if I didn't. That's why.
All right, thanks. So we're going to now move on to Lindsay Hampson of eBridge Connections. And Lindsay, I'm now passing you control.
Hey, everyone. I don't have any intro or going out music, but that was awesome, the last presentation and the first one. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, great. Hey, everyone. I'm Lindsay. I threw a picture up of me from the weekend grilling some marshmallows, but my presentation is all about the grill, so I thought I'd throw that up from the weekend. Thanks again for having me, Jason, and everyone at Microsoft Dynamics World. My name is Lindsay Hampson. I'm the Marketing Manager and Manager of Customer Accounts at eBridge Connections. We're a Canadian partner. We're a Gold Certified Microsoft partner. We have about 600 customers. A pile of them are using GP. So before I get into what we do, I wanted to tell a bit of a story here. So eBridge started out helping people like yourselves, if you're a seller of some goods online or in store, or if you're a company that implements GP and you have customers that are selling in that same way. So we help people get their product on the shelves of Walmart or Costco, or we get it over to eBay or Amazon, or we help them set up their Shopify site or their Magento site. So really we try to help them sort of eliminate the data entry between the products that they sell and their back office GP. All right, so I'm going to tell a story about Char Griller. They're a customer of ours. You might have seen their green eggs in Costco or Lowe's. So if you want to go and buy one of these Char Griller grills today, you got a few options. That's where my story begins. You could head over to Lowe's, which is where I was this weekend, and take a look, see what the deals are, and maybe pick up a Char Grill barbecue there. Or maybe you can go to Walmart and you're going to scope it out and say, oh, Char Griller's on sale today, $22 off, I'm going to go and buy it there. Or maybe you head to Char Griller because your neighbor told you, hey, go to Char Griller. They have a great selection on their website, and maybe you buy on their website. So my point is, we never know where someone's going to go to buy the product that they want to buy. So we have to have shops and channels everywhere. So that's where eBridge comes in, because we know that this customer, Char Griller, has their head office in one location, multiple channels across all different types of channels, and they use Microsoft GP in this case. So how do we make sure that all of the inventory is synced, any new orders that come from Lowe's or from Walmart or from that website gets back into the accounting system? How do we make sure bidirectionally inventory adjusts across channels? So it gets very complicated, and that's where we come in. So eBridge Connections, as I mentioned, we are 25 years old. We come from a place where we used to help folks only do EDI integration, that's stocking the shelves of Costco. And in the last 9 years, we started following up with folks that want to sell online. And you can imagine that that part of our business has really grown over the last few years. So what we are, essentially, is a middleware. So I'm just putting my timer on. Here we go. So we sit in between GP and all of those channels you sell on. So e-commerce, EDI, even your CRM like Salesforce, a 3PL or a warehouse, and even your shipping software. So if you're using something like ShipStation. And we're hosted on Microsoft Azure. As I mentioned, we're Microsoft Gold certified. We do a ton of e-commerce platforms. So you've probably heard of a little Canadian friend of ours called Shopify that's taking off. We have a bunch of Shopify customers. Amazon customers, you can imagine there's a ton of those too. eBay, Magento. We also help folks connect all of their information to Salesforce or Microsoft CRM or 365. Help people sell in store. And then we do connect to other ERPs apart from GP, but Microsoft is one of our most fruitful ERP partners. And we do 365, SL, AX, NAV, GP, and a whole bunch of others. We are also listed on the App Source of Microsoft. So if you go to App Source and you're looking around for your customers or for yourself for some help with data automation, you'll find eBridge there. And we have a ton of Microsoft customers. CRGroup is a great example. If you got time later, go on to Rad Power Bikes, another interesting e-commerce seller. They sell these interesting bikes where they're sort of motor powered, and you can get your groceries and get back to your house in 10 seconds. It's pretty funny. A bunch of different customers there too. All right, but let's get back to who we are and what we're about. So eBridge Connections. As I mentioned, we're a middleware. And so once you're set up as a customer of ours, you really don't need to go back into our back end of our software because things will just work. So as soon as you get a new order from Lowe's, let's say, we will flow that back through to GP and we'll update inventory. We'll also send tracking information if it's an Amazon order, for example, to your end customer. But if something went wrong or you wanted to reprocess an order, that's when you could come into eBridge. But we're sort of those people that you can set it and forget it. So I'm going to pretend to log into eBridge. And in this case, you can see this customer of mine has a ton of different channels of Amazon, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, Shopify, and they sell in Costco. So this is what it looks like once you're set up in eBridge. So if I click on Shopify, for example, I can see all of those manual points of friction that now I'm eliminating with eBridge. So every time a new Shopify order comes in, I don't need to do anything. It's just going to go flowing back over to GP. And then it will update inventory levels across all my channels. And if I wanted to post something new, like a new price or a new title of a product or even a brand new product, I can just update GP and that will push to all of my channels too. And then if you're bored and you want to see all of the orders that have gone through in a day, or maybe it's Black Friday or Cyber Monday and you're curious how well you're doing, you can go to our main documents page and see every single order that's been placed by partner, by document type, so inventory adjustments or orders. You can see the status. So if something went wrong, you can click on the X and find out what went wrong and reprocess it. So this is, again, a place where you don't need to be. But if something went wrong and you needed some extra help, you could always jump into eBridge. It's available on the web, and a ton of your folks that you work with can have their own logins. For example, if people on the shipping floor need a particular view of all items going from Amazon, you can set them up their own login, no extra charge or anything like that, and they can take a look at all those orders they got to pack, for example. All right, so again, we're just that middleware. We're hosted on Microsoft Azure with 600 customers, but I think actually I'd say 700 these days, going back and forth, some brand names you might know. And we serve small, medium, and large businesses, although our sweet spot really is that SMB. So back to the grill, and I wanted to show one more thing if I got another minute here. and this is our start planning tool. So if you have time or you have a customer asking a question about integration, you can go to eBridge Connections and hit Start Planning, and you can tell us what you're looking to integrate. So for example, ERP, GP, and with Amazon, and you can see our pre-built touch points. So you'll be able to see down to the field level what we've already integrated for folks that have come before you. So it just makes integration quicker, and you're able to see what we can do for you quickly. All right, and that's it for me. So there's 65 of us now at eBridge. We're just about an hour outside of Toronto, and we'd love to show you what we've got. We'd love to talk to you more about what you're looking to do and what you're doing today, or your customer. So let me know. Again, I'm Lindsay from eBridge, and I hope to hear from you. Thanks, Jason. I'll pass it over to you.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. And I'm now going to pass things over to Don Ramsay from Mineraltree. So, Don, the floor is yours.
All right, let me get my screen up here, folks. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, nice and clear.
All right, excellent. So you're looking at my screen right now. I am Don Ramsay, a solutions consultant with Mineraltree Software. We've been around the business for about 2 decades, and if you know us at all, you probably know of our flagship product called Multi-Entity Management. And this product I'm going to talk about today was a necessary addition to that product. And let me explain briefly why. If we go through our process here, just see if I get my screen to go down one. We're going to talk about today what is the intercompany bridge, who's it for, how it compares to them, and we'll take a look at some of the features. But very briefly at a high level, multi-entity allows you to run literally and factually hundreds of companies in a single database. That's unheard of. It's not an overlay. It doesn't fool you. This is actually running. We have one client that has over 700 companies in a single database. But there are restrictions to doing that. The way GP is designed, the SQL rules that apply, you can only have one functional currency in a GP database. You can only have one fiscal year end in a GP database. We have a lot of clients who've got a lot of American companies. They've got Canadian companies. They've got European companies. And they work on 2, 3, 4 different functional currencies. We also have clients that have multiple companies in the States, but they have multiple year ends, different year ends, pardon me. Well, they cannot use multi-entity management. They have to group those companies together in a like-minded setting. All the ones with the same fiscal year end and the same functional currencies can go into a single database. So we invented the product called multi-entity management. This streamlines intercompany processes. You are still going to have at least some databases left over. You may have multi-entity running in each and every one of them, but they have different functional currencies or different fiscal year ends. So you'll tie them together using the bridge. But it's more than just a simple intercompany product. We give you the ability from any single database, from any single login, to do consolidated reporting from all your companies, to do customer and vendor transaction inquiries for customers and vendors that deal with different companies in your different databases. You can do things like cash transfers from a bank account in one database to a bank account in the other database. And other than physically putting the money in your bank account, which no ERP that I know of does that, you can have it go right to the bank book in the other GP database. Things like that, inventory transfers of an item, and the item doesn't necessarily even have to have the same name in the other database. You can do the mapping and it will recognize it and simply change the name as it drops into the other database. So why is it important? Well, obviously, as you see here, manual intercompany transactions are a pain in the, and I had to take out the in the, but you get the idea. We had a client, and I'm not allowed to say who it is yet, we're asking permission, that told us that it takes 15 seconds to do a transaction in the bridge or in MEM that's intercompany. It takes them 5 minutes to do that same transaction, and they don't have a clear picture of what happened to that transaction in the other database. With the bridge module, you will have a clear picture. All the intercompany entries will be right there on the transaction that you post. You can look at any information from any company combinations without logging in to the other database. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to go there to post the transaction. You can set it up so the transaction gets posted to the destination databases and you're done. So just a very quick visual. Look at this as 9 separate databases. Can't have MEM because they're different fiscal year ends, different functional currency, whatever it is. But the relationship can be back and forth, and it doesn't matter which one of these 9 databases you're signed into. We have head office in the middle here, but you could be doing all your work from any one of these databases and have automatically posting all these transactions, bank transfers, inventory transfers, whatever it is you possibly could need to the other databases with no other user intervention required. And you can even drill down on the GL to see what's happened in the GL in those other databases without logging into them. So a very, very powerful tool to give you MEM-like characteristics while still acknowledging that you must have separate databases, at least some. We had a client, just to give you a high-level example, that had 80-some different databases, a database for every company they had. But they only had 4 functional currencies, and they were all the same fiscal year end. Now they have 4 databases, and they've grouped all the companies with like functional currencies in a single database. So keep that back in the back of your mind. It's a very, very powerful tool that allows you to do what you need to do without having to rock your world, if you will. And here's why some people are concerned about it. Intercompany bridge is designed for a certain group of people. These are companies that have to do intercompany transactions. So if you're somebody that simply only has a single database in GP, this is really of no value to you at this stage. But if you're deciding to grow and buy other companies and you find yourself in a pickle where you have to have separate databases, then the bridge might be a solution to your problem if you don't have too many databases, you don't want to consolidate, or maybe you shouldn't try and consolidate databases. For example, you might have different chart of accounts, that type of thing. You might have different price schedules for items in each database. Those kinds of things could make you pause and say, well, I'd like to keep them separate, but can I still enhance my communication skills? Can I still enhance my reporting skills? The other thing that might be the final point, you might be very price sensitive to the cost of importing legacy data, and you don't particularly want to spend big bucks just to get everything into a single database when you've only got 3 or 4 anyway, and you only go into 1 or 2 a few times a month, that type of thing. Capabilities that it provides for you. We have allocation templates that allow you to post, say, a 2-line GL distribution, as an example, and have 20 different databases hit, 20 different companies in those databases hit, all the do, to, froms, all the intercompany transactions automatically calculated, automatically put on a single transaction screen so you know what's happened, and automatically posted to the destination databases. You can have batch posting or not. So you may have an account manager in one of the destination databases that says, look, I don't want you posting to my books without me knowing what's going on. Put it in a batch. No problem. That very same transaction may also involve another database that says, oh yeah, post it away, no problem at all. No sweat. Both can happen simultaneously, the same batch. Certain databases can have batch posting. Other databases may be posted directly to the GL for you. And that applies, by the way, to bank transfers as well. In our system, the bank transfers go from one database to another database. Could go from, say, US dollar currency bank account in database A to a Canadian dollar bank account in database B. The transfer, the exchange rate is automatically calculated. The money's already put into the bank book. Nobody at the other end has to do anything. Verify at the month end whether or not there was a bit of a difference in the exchange rate. But if you know the exchange rate precisely, you can even set a spot rate when you do the cash transfer. And the other things we've talked about already, we can have consolidated reporting, master record syncing, and I think I mentioned, at least in inventory, the master IDs don't even have to be an exact match. You can map them in this product so that they'll still update each other. I update one vendor, all the other vendors in my other databases update automatically. So if I change my contact name, my phone number, my address, I only have to do it once, and the way it goes. And obviously now the last 2 lines, now you're going to have support for multiple functional currencies and support for multiple fiscal years, even though you're still abiding by the rules of GP, and those have to be in their own databases. Now we tie them together to give you all this automation. And here's just a highlight of a few main points to talk about. You want to be able to automate this process so that if you've got multiple databases to deal with, and there's no reasonable way to amalgamate them into a single database, you want to have this automated in such a way that you don't need user intervention in any of the destination databases, and we do that for you. Doesn't matter the functional currency in the other database, doesn't matter any of the other details, you've got control of that. You can apply cash receipts to multiple invoices. That's an interesting one. If you've got a customer that deals with you from different databases, they can send you one check. You can actually do a cash application of that one check to invoices from multiple databases in one window. No sweat, no problem whatsoever. So if I have just, see I've got less than 3 minutes left, so I do want to pop over and just show you a very quick transaction. Just let me hold on here. I've got a Control-Alt-Delete to let me sign back in here. Where's that at? Right there. Bear with me 1 sec. Hoping this won't eat up all my time here. All right, so basically I've got a MEM intercompany bank transfer window. So I'm going to take a bank account from the company I'm in, which is Fabricam. It's a standard GP demo environment. First Bank, if you've done the demos at all, you know this one. We'll take $7,000. Now this is US dollars. I'm going to go to this company here. Now, these are actually separate databases. So I'm going to go to database 2, which is a Canadian dollar functional currency company. And I'm going to look in here and I'll pick, say, the Canadian bank account. You notice, first of all, the exchange has already been calculated for me based on the exchange rate tables that I'm using. If I want to put a spot rate in, no problem. If I know the exact exchange rate at that moment in time, I can populate that exchange rate and be done with it. You'll notice there's no batch. I'm going to change this date to something a little more reasonable. So I've got today $7,000 going from a US dollar bank account, $9,000 roughly going into a Canadian dollar bank account. If I post this, it'll take just a second. We'll take a look at it on the screen here. And what I want you to notice is that we've got the transfer already done. We've got the intercompany transactions already built in here in this transaction. And if I pop over to look for this 8960, close this window. I've already opened up the other database, so now I'm in database 2 here. Let's go take a look and see if I can do an inquiry and take a look at the checkbook register. And I believe I put it in the Canadian dollar checkbook, which I did. And we'll just take a look at this one here, and I'll redisplay. If I scroll down to the bottom, you'll notice the amount is already there in the checkbook, and I can drill back and see the basics of the transaction where this happened with its side of the due, to, do, from, and the Canadian dollars that were put in the bank account. So it's in the checkbook already, in the GL already. There's no batch to post. There's nothing for anyone to worry about unless you have decided in the configuration of the product to put it in a batch. So I'll pop back to my main screen here. All of these things can be done. The setup is very simple. There's no change to make to the structure of your existing databases unless you have a desire to amalgamate some like companies, i.e. same functional currency, same fiscal year end. The Bridge product can work with multi-entity management, which is our grandfather product, our flagship, if you will, but it's also been designed to work standalone. If you need the product to work simply with 2 or 3 databases, with 2 or 3 different functional currencies, just 2 or 3 companies, not a problem. You do not need to have multi-entity to work with the Bridge product. And that is at a very high level, obviously in 12 minutes, not a thorough demo, but hopefully it gives you some food for thought if you are a client that has multiple databases you're dealing with today and you're looking for a cost-effective solution. So thank you very much for your time, and I'm sure, no doubt, that these 4 presentations have been of help to you.
Great, thank you, Don. And thank you to all our presenters. I'm going to put up some contact information for all 4 now. I'm sure they'd all be happy to answer additional follow-on questions from you after the event, and we do have a couple that have come in as we've moved along here, and so I'd like to get to those now. If you've been saving any, feel free to enter them into the Q&A block at this point. So let me start with Donna from CRGroup. Someone wants to know what happens if a model doesn't fit into the out-of-the-box tool that you showed.
Okay, thanks, Jason. So I did just highlight the main features and functionality, and basically what's available out of the box. But what can happen is you can actually create some customized views or templates at an additional cost. So RapidStart and really MaxiPlan is quite flexible in terms of making sure that you have a product that's going to meet your needs. So if there's something that doesn't quite fit right, or if you have a pain point where you say, look, I would really like a customized template to be able to budget for this specific item, we could certainly work through that together with you.
All right, excellent. Question for Sarah from Mineraltree is asking whether you can support multiple levels of approval for invoices and payments.
Absolutely. So within our invoice approvers, you can have 4 layers of approvals with multiple people in each layer, and you can build them based on a number of different dimensions in your accounting systems. And for payment approvers, you can have 2 layers of payment approvers, but you can still have multiple people in each layer. And we can support double signatures as well. And you can build those based on amount, either of those, invoice approvers or payment approvers based on amount too.
All right, a question for Lindsay. Someone writes, I'm a GP VAR. How much of the integration project will fall on my plate?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Having some mute trouble. So the question is, yeah, from a Microsoft VAR, so somebody that implements GP, how much of the integration work will fall on your plate? So the answer is as much as you want. We implement so many of these integrations every quarter, and we have various levels of involvement from the VARs themselves. Oftentimes, we just work directly with your customer. That often works really well. We get to talk to your end customer. We get to see exactly what they want flowing from a new order, for example, on Shopify or Amazon back to GP. And then when we need you, we'll call you for help. Other times we work more frequently with the partner or VAR. And we make sure, though, that we always scope, have those initial calls with all 3 parties, including the customer, just to make sure we get it right, because you know that old phone, that old game phone, telephone, where something gets lost in translation. It's good to have everyone on the phone, scope out exactly what you want the integration to look like, and then get started. So that was a long-winded answer to say as much involvement as you'd like, making sure that we have a good relationship with your customer. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Question for Don Ramsay. So Don, the question is, can I import existing schedules and contracts?
You can import into anything that you can normally import into GP. You can import into both the bridge and to MEM itself. And today we're talking about primarily the bridge. The only thing you would have to keep in mind, you are now going to be running multiple databases, so you would run a separate report for what's going into each database. But that's a built-in functionality. You're not reinventing the wheel.
All right, excellent. There was a question on licensing, and I'd like to expand that one just to let everyone have a chance to give a little more information on how you license your products, and you offer a like a cloud licensing option, or whatever other details you think are worth sharing here. So maybe we could just go around and I could have each of you just talk to that briefly. Donna, could I start with you on that question?
Sure. So the pricing that I showed you was 1 administrator and 5 end users. So it's basically simple pricing. If you wanted to add another end user or another 5 users, you just add the additional cost. I may be misquoting from memory, but I think it's $500 annually for an additional standard user. So you can just add as many as you so choose. So that is the only ongoing cost going forward, because the services are meant to be a one-time setup only. So you can choose as many number of users as you want.
Okay, and Sarah?
Yes, so our pricing, we have a setup cost that can range from around $500 to $2,500 depending on, you know what I mean, how many companies you have, and the accounting package you're using. And then we have a subscription fee that we calculate based on the volume of invoices that you need to capture and the payments that you need to purchase, obviously with card payments, Amex and MasterCard, Visa, the Mineraltree payment networks being free. So with the way to think about Mineraltree is that when it comes to the payment piece, at the very least, we're working a lot to hopefully get a lot of your subscription costs back in cashback rebates through the card program. So AP can truly be little to no cost. And we don't have any user fees or document storage fees. It's just based on your invoice volume and payment volume. And I believe the fees start at around $200 a month, depending on your volume.
Great, thank you. And Lindsay?
All right, for us, same story actually. We have a bit of a setup fee, just small, one time, and then we charge a subscription fee after that. And the pricing is really based on the amount of work you don't want to do anymore. So we call the automation of orders one way. We call that a touch point, and so it's based on the amount of touch points or workflows that you don't want to do anymore. So that's how it works.
Thank you. And Don?
With us, it's a bit of a hybrid. We do have the cloud pricing on a per user basis per month. That's built into all of our Dynamics products. We also have a pricing module built in based on the GP modules you're using and the amount of GP users that you have. And that basically is, if I've got people touching my product, X number of people, named users, I'm going to charge you X number of dollars for that. And that's for purchasing on premise. It's a one-time fee. And then, of course, there's the annual maintenance so that you're always current with the product, you're always up to date without having to pay anything extra for another product.
All right, very good. Well, I don't see any other questions right now, so we can begin to wrap up. We have recorded today's event. We'll be sharing those details with you, as well as the contact information once again following today's live event. I want to say thank you to Donna, Sierra, Lindsay, and Don for taking the time to take us through so many great solutions and getting to see them in just under an hour here. It's always a lot of fun. Thanks to you in the audience as well for your time and attention. And with that, we are going to wrap up today's event. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.